Welcome everyone to this Wednesday webinar together with X-Element. And we will do this in English as we have a lot of non-Swedish speaking guests. So even if the presenters can also speak Swedish, you can always ask questions. I will also do that. So the topic of the day is how to prove the value of marketing using data-driven marketing automation. And as we see from both 2020 and still going on, is that there's a very high interest for marketing automation, and it's not that easy to implement. And a lot of companies working on it and realizing maybe that it requires some resources, and also it's easy to end up that the marketing automation platform and tool becomes a very expensive email marketing system. So of course there's some challenges there, but definitely also a lot of opportunities. And first of all, I'd like to say that if you have questions, just send them into the question function and I will ask that in the end. We have a lot of discussion there. We also will use the poll function in Zoom. So we will send out some polls. Always also very interesting to see what you think about things, and also have the dialogue together with you. So, but first of all, I'd like to introduce and welcome my guests to the show. And that is Mathias Jonsson from X-Element and Daniel Nyberg from Bisnode. Welcome. Hello, guys.
Hi, Mats. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Hi, Mats.
Thanks. And maybe, Mathias, could you just start telling who you are?
Yeah, sure. I'm Mathias Jonsson. I'm the CEO for X-Element. I've been working in digital marketing for many years now. Started off on in-house, and I bought and implemented marketing automation for Tieto, actually, back in the days, and later on realized that we're pretty good at this stuff, so we started up and started our own consulting agency eventually. So that's short about me.
Thanks. Welcome. You sound like the right person to be here. And we also have Daniel with us from Bisnode. Welcome. And could you tell us a little bit about your background?
Yeah. Hi, Mats, and thank you. So I'm Daniel Nyberg. I work with Bisnode. I've been at the company for the past 4 years. I'm currently head of digital marketing at the company, which means that me and my team, we run all marketing technology. We run marketing operations for all the 18 countries, and we focus on collecting data for marketing and sales functions. So it's a bit of both. I've been working together with Mathias and X-Element for the past 4 years, mainly focusing on implementing and expanding on Marketo and the marketing automation capabilities there. So I'm here sort of as the reality check for Mathias.
So you will always comment and say, no, Mathias, now this is not possible to do.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's kind of like that. So when you hit the trenches, reality is always there.
Yeah. But Mathias, we come back to you, Daniel. So let's give the stage over to Mathias. But I mean, as you heard, I mentioned that maybe one challenge is that it becomes a very expensive email marketing tool. Is that something you agree with, or?
If used incorrectly and only used for email blasts, and you don't have a process in the background, you're not really utilizing the full functionality that you have in the marketing automation tools available today. Of course, it could you could as good use MailChimp or something like that if you're just gonna do outbound email marketing to a list. But I think it's fairly simple to do a few tweaks to get started with marketing automation and start seeing some really good things. And it's all about setting the process, utilizing the functionalities in the tools, and making sure you have the right mindset to use the tool. So it's I would say it's not far from going from an expensive email marketing to a
That's
good marketing automation tool.
Yeah.
You can do it with a few simple things.
And that's why we listen to you now, right? And very interesting. But I also see, I mean, as I also worked for implementing different platforms for a very long time, I see always so easy to blame on the system when it doesn't work or give you the value you thought of or plan to. But of course, most of the time, my experience is that is the processes that are not there really.
Yeah, for sure. Everything from marketing automation to the CRM tool, and especially now when we're starting to talk about leveraging AI within marketing, etc., etc. If you don't have the processes and the data in place, it's going to be very, very hard to implement any kind of machine learning or AI to your marketing data. So it's all about setting up the foundation correctly first, I would say.
Perfect. And now I don't want to take more of your time. So please, the stage is yours.
Thank you very much. And if I do like this and click here, you should see my presentation. And I will. So first of all, thank you very much, Mats, for hosting this and doing the introductions. I will start with introducing how to calculate return on marketing investment in a B2B environment. I'll actually show you some calculation and a little bit about attribution models. And this will be in Excel style. And then go into how a marketing automation tool can help you with that. And also what you need to do to be able to leverage the capabilities built into Marketo and some other marketing automation tools out there. Then I'll hand over to my trusted webinar wingman, Daniel Nyberg, who always do great presentation, and he will share some actual knowledge of how it can be done. But first of all, the mandatory short about Element. And the company Element was founded in 2003, and we usually proudly say that we, in 2010, brought marketing automation to the Nordic. 2015, we started the Marketo division and actually signed some really nice contracts early on, among them Klarna on their B2B side, and obviously also started to work with Daniel and Bisnode. In 2016, we joined a Estonian IT company called Nortal, as we predicted that marketing and data will be tied closer and closer together. But as we in Sweden continued to focus on B2B marketing, the Nortal group became more and more focused on the public sector and custom Java development and so on. So we decided to buy back the Swedish part early last year, and April 1st, just when the pandemic hit the world, we started Element. Obviously, we still believe that data is becoming more and more important every day, and this friendly divorce has actually given us the possibility to again focus on the kind of things we love. And today we're here to talk about return on marketing investment. And before I start, I have a very quick poll for you. So Evelina, if you can put the poll on the screen. There, I see it. And the question is, how often do you measure return on marketing investment? The
answers are ticking in.
That's great to hear. Thank you, Evelina.
Well, Mathias, what do you believe is the answer? do you have an idea about that?
I don't. It's. I would think we get a little bit of all here.
You will see now.
That's great. So we have a lot of people attending, actually calculating marketing investment. Super good to see. I hope this is going to be useful for you as well. There are some that don't do it at all, and some that do it from another perspective. So That's great. So I don't know, Evelyn, I can.
Yeah.
Thank you. Let's continue then with the presentation. And return on marketing investment in a B2B context is actually quite complicated. It's fairly simple to calculate return on ad spend on an e-commerce site, but for a B2B context, it's much more complicated as we have several touch points, long sales cycles, and we also have sales involvement, which can complicate things. But the formula for calculating the return on marketing investment is really simple. What you do is that you take the profit, reduce the marketing cost, and then divide that by the marketing cost. You can also take the revenue and use the same formula instead of profit. I know Daniel will look at the revenue only. For my examples today, I will use profit, and whichever solution you choose is obviously okay as long as you're aware of the different results it will generate, and you also know how your finance department calculates. So let's start with attribution, as different attribution models will give you very different results. And we'll look at 3 examples today. And if you look at first touch attribution, it gives 100% of the attribution to the first touch. That is the one that brings the lead onto your website or into contact with you. Then you have even multi-touch attribution that gives an equal share of the attribution to each touch point. And also a first and last touch focused weighted version of attribution, often called U-shaped attribution module. So let's look at some figures. In this example, we'll use 5 different opportunities, obviously extremely simplified, but with the additional information that we know the profit. One other interesting thing you can do, of course, is to look at the pipeline created and the weighted pipeline from your marketing efforts. As you see in this example, each opportunity is connected to a number of touch points. All opportunities have a first touch. In these examples, they come in through Google Ads or search engine optimization. Then we have an acquisition program. That is our super successful blog that has managed to get all the leads to convert from anonymous to known. Then we have some nurture and online event. And finally, we have the last touch before conversion. Also very important, we have costs associated with the different marketing activities. And in this example, we have Google Ad at 50K and search engine optimization at 150K. And we're going to use this in the next example. So keep them in mind for just a second. And we will look at something really simple first. First touch attribution, where all profit or revenue is attributed to the initial touch point. The profit from opportunity 1, 3, and 5 sums up to 225K. And the cost for the ad was 80K. And if we insert these figures to the formula, we get a stunning 181% return on marketing investment. And for SEO, the profit is slightly higher, but the cost was also slightly higher. So here we get a return of 133%. And this is, I mean, fairly straightforward. So let's make it slightly more complicated. And if we take linear or even multi-touch attribution, that gives all touch points an equal share of the profit. Here, the number of touch points obviously becomes important. So we're going to divide 100% with the number of touch points. And for opportunity number 2, we have 100% divided by 5. That gives us 20% on the associated touch points. And obviously, everybody who's fast in math can figure out that the next slide will show 50K per touch point on opportunity number 2. And here, I've added the profit distribution to all the opportunity and touch points. And as you can see, the values are shared equally across the touch points per opportunity. And I've also calculated the sum, as these are the figures we're going to use in the next slide. Here we have the cost shown earlier, and also the sum of the profit from the previous slide. And when we input these figures to our return on marketing investment formula, you can see that it changes a lot as Google Ads goes down from being a great investment to a bad investment. But then let's look at a third way of doing this, as we know that first touch is really important to get persons to our site. And in this step, we'll weigh the numbers. That means, in this case, that we'll give first and last touch a big chunk of the profit, 40% each, and the rest of the touch points get 20% to share. Let's look at opportunity number 3 here. So here we have 50K profit, and once again, fast in math, we give 20K to Google Ad, 5K to the blog, 5K to ebook, and 20K to ebook 2. And when we distribute the profit on all opportunities and then sum these figures up, we get, obviously, a higher figure for Google Ad and search engine optimization, and also for ebook 2 and RFI template, but lower for the blog, webinar, and ebook. And this makes the RFI template super successful, but the blog, that was the acquisition program for all leads, looks really bad. So deciding on attribution models is a science in itself. And the good thing for this is that there are tools and even AI that can help you do this. So let's have a look at how this can look at in a marketing automation tool like Marketo, and what you need to do to get started. Before AI, you need to get your data and process right. In Marketo Performance Insights, you can get first touch and multi-touch attribution. You can get attribution on channel and marketing activities. It will also take other factors like date into account that I conveniently ignored in my examples above. You can also get the pipeline generated and expected revenue, which is based on the weighted pipeline. You will, however, not get the profit into Marketo Performance Insights. And if you don't have the proper way of working, you will not get any insights at all. So I thought I'd give you some tips on what to do to get started with return on marketing investment. First, all programs or campaigns must have cost associated. In Marketo, you can have a monthly cost, which is great for recurring LinkedIn campaign costs, for example. As you've seen while calculating, if we don't have a cost, we won't be able to calculate the return on marketing investment. For ad spend, there are, of course, tools that can collect the costs, and you should really try to aggregate the cost and get all of that into your marketing automation tool. Also, you need to know when a person does what you consider a success. This is when we will add any profit or revenue generated from that person to this campaign. We will not say that just because you were invited to a webinar and later bought something for 1 million, the webinar should get a part of that revenue. No, but if you attended a webinar and later bought something, the webinar should get a piece of the cake. Have your marketing and CRM system in sync. And make sure that sales accepts or rejects the leads that are created by marketing. Make sure these leads are then converted, and pretty please make sure it is this contact that is set as a contact role in your CRM system on the opportunities you create. If this process does not work, it will be very, very much harder to calculate your return on marketing investments. And for example, tools like Marketo Performance Insights will not work. Another tip is to collect your Google Analytics ID into your marketing automation tool. This will enable you to share that ID from Web Analytics to marketing automation, to CRM, and all the way to your ERP system, and thus making the future calculations easier from ad spend and search engine optimization. So there are no quick route to calculate return on marketing investment. You will get the information from your CRM system, and Marketo Engage Performance Insight will give you really good information. And with our add-on Visible, you can really get into tweaking and customizing attribution models. But if you want to calculate with actual data from your ERP system, I would recommend, for example, BigQuery, and connect your marketing automation tool, your CRM, and maybe use a tool like Funnel to gather your ad spend. This way, you will be able to get really good overview of your return on marketing investments. So to wrap up, a few concrete tips to get started. Have costs and success on all marketing activities. Define the high-level channels you want to measure. Connect your systems. Make sure Google Analytics, marketing automation, Marketo is connected to CRM system. Make sure opportunities have contact roles. And then some other tips, know your average profit margin, and learn some keywords like customer acquisition cost and customer lifetime value to be able to go and confidently speak to CFO, CEO. And also police the process to make sure that sales fill in the contact roles on the opportunities and that it follows up, because that will give you the possibility to leverage the built-in tools in Marketo, like Marketo Performance Insights. And before I hand over to Daniel, we have another very quick poll. So Evelina, great. Let's see if this was, if 90% currently use AI to calculate attribution models then.
This is exciting, Mathias, to see.
Yes, very exciting.
Yeah, very. I'm so frustrated because I'm not allowed to answer.
No.
Okay, here we go.
We have some. That was around 17% that currently use a different some kind of attribution model, and quite a few that does not use it. So I hope this sort of gave you an insight into how to use different attribution models and what you can do. And I will now try to see if I can get the next slide here. Yeah. So that's all from me. I'm sure Matt's gonna talk a little bit about, have some questions in the end. And before that, we get over to the good stuff, the practice instead of the theory. So Daniel, are you still with us?
I am here, Mathias.
That's great.
Thank you. So let me just share my screen for you. And so I'm stopping you here, Mathias, and now I'm sharing my own screen again. So thank you, Mathias. Super interesting. It's always good to hear. And so I'm just gonna, like Mathias said, I'm gonna give you the actual practical version of how return on marketing investment can actually be measured. So Bisnode is a 18 country-wide company. We're based in Sweden, in Stockholm, and we operate throughout most of the European continent. We were recently acquired by Dun & Bradstreet. So we are, as of early January, a Dun & Bradstreet company. And we're also shifting into a new branding, of course, and completely shifting name to Dun & Bradstreet International in a few weeks. So I'm just going to give you a very brief version about what Dun & Bradstreet is. It's roughly the same as Bisnode was. We supply risk, anti-money laundering data, and sales and marketing data to about 90% of all Fortune 500 companies. We have in our products just under 500 million business records, that's company records. So we obviously sell a lot of master data for marketing automation platforms and for CRM systems, ERP systems, etc. But I'm not going to talk that much more about Dun & Bradstreet. I'm just going to go straight ahead into this topic. I love Tom Fishburne. He always puts the hammer on the nail on these marketing issues that we all experience from time to time. So my job at Bisnode or Dun & Bradstreet International is to supply that data to my boss, the CMO for International, so he or she can build a foundation for their ideas and projects. So my team, we collect data for marketing operations, we run the technology, and we make sure that all our campaigns are operationalized. And obviously, we've been working together with Mathias and Excellement for almost 4 years now, and implementing Marketo, but also expanding on Marketo's capabilities. So when we gave this some deep thinking, we concluded that there's basically 3 levels. I mean, this is obviously a bit of a simplified version of reality, and this is Bisnode's version of reality. But we concluded the very basic level is that we have a 1-to-1 lead to revenue impact correlation. And that's basically what Mathias previously mentioned as a last touch attribution model, but from a marketing to sales perspective. And I'm going to dig into this one a bit later. We also concluded that there's an advanced level where we actually conclude on all marketing activities and how they attribute to revenue. There's a time lag in here. Bisnode is a B2B company. We only do businesses with other businesses. Sales cycles range, from a month to 1.5 years. So there's an awful lot of time lag and time lag modeling that needs to be done to really figure out, what is the impact of marketing activities today on sales in 2 quarters from now. And of course, the most sort of complex level that we identified is the marketing mix modeling. You can Google this. You will find enormous amounts of statistical models, differentiation between performance marketing and brand or brand and content marketing, but also models that allow you to tweak and twist the actual channel impact on marketing return on investment. But obviously, the 2 and 3, the complex and advanced, require a lot of resources. And from my experience, it's better to always start off with something that you can understand, get your head around, and be practical about and deliver results on quickly. So we decided to go for the basic stuff. And we concluded that for us, there's 2 methods to measure direct revenue impact to get that return on marketing investment. The first one is very obvious. Just like Mathias said, when marketing has generated a lead, an MQL, we hand that over to sales and we make sure that there's a tight technical integration between the marketing system, in our case, Marketo, and the CRM systems. For our legacy, we have been gifted with 15 different CRM systems, like 15. So I'm just a short, small representation of all the CRM systems that we actually have. But we build technical integrations between Marketo and the CRMs, and we push those leads to the CRMs. But to measure this, we get feedback on opportunities and revenue, but we are really relying on sales, all our salespeople, like 700 of them, to always keep their opportunities and revenue updated in the sales system. Otherwise, we won't get that feedback. The other aspect that we sort of found upon is, I'm just going to see. Okay, sorry. Is that instead of using the CRM systems, which is in several cases for us, the data is a bit unreliable, we actually had a look at what if we match marketing leads with actual finance data. So basically having a look at what we invoice and which customers we invoice and match that with the leads that are sent to sales. And this actually works out pretty well. So how we do this today is, I mean, the value chain for us in terms of technology is, the leads start off in Marketo. They are sent to the CRMs. And from the CRMs, you get transactions into our finance systems. So on the left-hand corner here, you have a ready-to-go lead, an MQL status, ready for sales in Marketo. And so what we do is we bypass the CRMs right now. And instead we look in finance. So, I mean, there's a Danish company here called Direct Data. In March last year, it was handed over in March. And in early April, we found revenue on that company. So we conclude that this is a match. The lead was handed over to sales. We can't really track what's going on in the CRM system, but we do track what's going on in the finance system. And we make this match. Then, of course, this model needs curation. We need to be aligned with salespeople, with sales operations, with marketing operations in the local markets to really conclude that, well, that everybody agrees to, yes, this is actually the lead from marketing that resulted in this sale, or there's some type of attribution in here. So that's how we decided to do it. And then, of course, like Mathias said, there's more to it. I mean, we only have the revenue now. There's some more data that we need because, we need to understand our costs. For us being, a multi-country company, having a huge amount of advertising accounts, we concluded like we need a way of figuring out our total advertising costs without completely overrunning our resources with, admin and Excel sheets. So we also need to know our event and content production costs. That's fairly easy, actually, less transactions and more Excel based. But we also need to really make sure that all our leads are tagged with a company number or an organization number. In our case, the DUNS number, which is Dun & Bradstreet unique number system identifier. Basically, every single company in the world has a DUNS number. But we make sure that we add that DUNS number or org number to the lead before they hit the sales flow. And we also need to make sure that the revenue data is tagged with a company or DUNS number that we can connect to. So how do we actually do this then? Well, we use funnel.io. If you haven't had a look at this and you work in marketing operations, you should definitely have a look. We track more than 80 different advertising accounts across our 18 markets. We have a huge variety, and we have an updated minute by minute understanding of how much advertising money we're spending, channels, regions, markets, every single cut that you can imagine. So this is how we track our costs, or advertising costs. Event and content production costs are tracked manually through Excel sheets. And to make sure that we have leads tagged up with organization number or DUNS numbers, we have two different products that actually of our own, of course. They have a shared database, so the data behind them are the same. And on one hand, we use D&B Optimizer, which is on your left-hand side. If you use Marketo, you can find it in Launchpoint. And it's basically a back-end matching tool for company information. So we send every piece of identifiable information we have on a company, zip codes, addresses, names, sometimes even people who work there in the markets where that's legal. And we get a match back with an estimated match probability. And if the probability is more than 90%, so basically the system tells us that this is, but with 90% confidence, this is the right company. If it's more than 90%, we add the company name. But we also try to do that process even beforehand by in all our lead forms on our sites. Whenever somebody converts, from newsletter all the way up to I want to talk to sales about this product right now. We've implemented D&B Direct Plus, which is a master data product using the same database as D&B Optimizer, but we implemented this in the front end. So when customers type their company name, we do lookups and we suggest this. So if you're Mercedes-Benz in Austria, you will probably very likely select that company name. And when you do so, we capture the DUNS number, and then we use the Optimizer product to backfill even more information on the account. So we actually have just over 80% of all leads that go to sales are actually perfectly identified, with down to the work site, to the global parent and the domestic parent company. So data quality is actually really, really good. Before we implemented these products, which started about 2 years ago, we had a data quality or identification hit rate of below 40%. And then it's very hard to do that return on marketing investment analysis. So this is how we do it. Now it's time for a poll. So Evelina, would you please pull up the poll? Thank you. And are you able to track marketing leads to sales opportunities and/or revenue? So Evelina, let me know when the poll is completed.
Of course.
Thank you.
I have to say, Daniel, it sounds like you're working in a very professional way in the marketing.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you. It is, I have to admit, it's the most sort of structured marketing department I've ever worked in. And there's about an equal amount of room for processes, technology, and data as there is for creativity, brand, and content and event creation. So it's,
and I mean, that's a good combination. I should correct myself. I mean, actually structured way of working, as you said. And the combined thing with creativity and structure, then process in data, sounds perfect.
Yeah, it is. Thank you.
I will share the results now.
Okay. Okay, but this is pretty good. Both of the above is 25%. So we have about 3/4 of the audience here being able to track at least, if not all, parts of it. That's really good. And it kind of sounds like half of the audience here actually have the same challenge as we have, where we can track most of the opportunities, but when it comes to the revenue, it's never in the CRM systems. It's always somewhere else. Okay, so I'm just going to finish this off with a final slide to be even more practical. So just to recapitulate on this sort of technology / data collection, where it happens, how it happens, I choose to display this on a lead life cycle. And so we track people coming in. Of course, they are unknown. They convert from newsletter forms or event forms. They become known. We nurture them, or they do fast track conversions and want to talk to sales directly, and they become MQLs. We hand them over to sales, CRM systems. They get accepted. They turn into opportunities, and eventually they become won, lost, and are created as revenue records in our ERPs. Eventually, once you become a customer, we also close the loop by adding our customers into engagement programs in Marketo. So we drive further nurture, but from a customer point of view, to enable on products, etc. And just to increase customer lifetime value, decrease attrition, customer turnover, and increase lifetime value. And all the data from Marketo, several of our CRMs and our ERPs are collected into Google BigQuery on Google Cloud Platform. And this is where we actually do the number crunching. So we don't do it in Marketo, we do it in a data warehouse on the side, because of the sort of vast array of different technologies across the company. So that's it for me. I really hope you get some more interesting insights into what reality looks like when you do ROI and marketing automation combined.
Thanks, Daniel. Welcome back, Mathias, also. Daniel, I must ask you about the, when you hand over, when you measure and you cut away the in between there, so you measure from your marketing activities directly into finance, then of course you're very dependent on the quality of the sales department's work and that they really take over the leads and do something with it. That's my experience. Isn't always the case. But what is your experience there?
My experience is there's a huge difference in that quality of work between our markets. And I think there's also some sort of cultural aspects lingering. Bisnode is not sort of a historically unified company. It's a huge amount of acquisitions over time. So company cultures differs. But for example, when we look at Central Europe, DACH countries like Germany, Austria, Switzerland, they have fantastic data quality. We trust everything that's in the CRM systems and we rely fully on them. While other markets, such as Sweden, are maybe not so great on data quality. So it is a huge challenge. But for us, the sort of conclusion was that we need to find the truth, and the truth is always in what's invoiced. So finding that sort of invoice rows from the ERPs matching to leads, that's what gives us, this is the truth.
Okay, I have a comment from and let's see here, where does it from another Mats reflection. When you measure ROI, the textbook says that this should be done on additional net contribution rather than total revenue. Deduct cost of goods sold. Have you considered that metric, that metric or this metric?
Yes, and sorry, maybe I was a bit unclear there. We do measure only marketing generated, so that's net contribution to the total revenue from marketing. So, and that's why you need that almost a perfect match on lead records, on company numbers, etc., tracking those.
Okay.
So yes, Mats, yes, we did consider that metric, and that's how we measure things. I'm sorry if I was unclear.
Okay, Mathias, when you, I like when you show the example of when using numbers to prove marketing value or value of the marketing activities, and also I believe this good in a business case before you, if you like to try to convince the management to invest in a system, for example. It's pretty good to do a business case and prove it looks very good with the figures and numbers. And I mean, top management loves numbers, right?
Yeah.
No, I agree, and also a comment there that we're calculating on additional value generated after cost of goods sold. That Matt said that calculate on the profit or the revenue. It's you can do either or, and just as long as you and your finance agreement agree on the way you're doing it. And if you're using numbers, Daniel talked a little bit in the end about total life customer lifetime value. And if you use your customer lifetime value, if you can use that as a metric compared to the revenue or the additional profit generated from one opportunity, you usually get a much higher return on marketing investment. So it all comes down to sort of how you and your company measure the results and what figures you're using. And if we when we started working with Daniel, we had a small pilot project, and if I only calculated the return on investment there compared to our now 4-year-long relationship, the additional the marketing cost, the marketing spend we had for reaching out to Daniel on the pilot project, that was it's okay. it's a mutual good relationship. I hope that we have here, and the calculation like in this case it's completely different. So it's, if you can use the customer lifetime value to calculate instead of just the profit from one opportunity, and that's why I mean the marketing automation tool and all of these, they give you very good insights at a glance, but it's important to be able to prove your return on marketing investment, that it's actually good things that you're doing. And if you can take figures and go to the CFO, CEO, it usually gives you more credibility.
Yeah, good. I mean, we're running out of time, but I actually like to send out questions that come from the audience. And Tobias had questions or three questions about the Dun & Bradstreet. Do you see them? Yeah. Where is the pre-faded data in the form coming from? Is there the CRM database connected?
Yeah. So Tobias, the pre-faded data in the form comes from a product that Dun & Bradstreet sells. It's called D&B Direct Plus for master data. So it's actually a company record master data product that we connect to, and we get sort of pre-faded results from. So it's not a CRM database, it's a product that we sell containing master data records for basically every single company in the world. And the question then, like, is data in that form GDPR compliant? Usually differs a bit between markets, but it's as long as there's no person identified in that data, we are always compliant. Then there are cases where you have single person company or one-man companies that have this, where the company name has the same name as the person of the company or running the company. That is a bit problematic in some markets. So we've actually cut away or filtered out those specific companies in the markets where that's applicable. But also, and if that integration is possible with Marketo or, for example, SAP Marketing Cloud, SAP Sales Cloud, the form integration is actually built on our CMS. So it's actually just HTML and a JavaScript code running on the form in the CMS. In our case, Episerver, but it could be anything. And the backend integration to D&B Optimizer is possible for anything that can connect through an API. So just a simple API call from Marketo or Salesforce, and most probably SAP Sales Cloud as well.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
And now the end is here. And thank you very much, Mathias, Daniel, for all the information. Very concrete. We got some good tips and hints and tricks. And of course, you're still there if you want to send the information. We will also send the presentation to you. And also we will send an evaluation. And please answer the evaluation. We really look into that and see how we can become better and better and better. So have a very nice rest of the day. See you soon again. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much.